All right, let's dive into a really interesting logical puzzle. It's all about one of the world's most influential books, but the puzzle itself starts with a pretty bold accusation. Now, on the surface, you might think this is all about faith, but what's fascinating is that a little bit of critical thinking uncovers some really compelling contradictions.
So, it all kicks off with this. That's a pretty provocative statement, right? And this is the claim that really gets our whole logical journey started. On one side, you've got more than 1 billion people who believe the Quran is the literal word of God, and on the other, you have this idea that it's actually from a source of evil.
And you really can't get more opposite than that. There's no middle ground here at all. It's either a divine text, meant for guidance, or it's a demonic one, meant for misguidance. So, how in the world do you even begin to investigate a claim like this? Well, the approach we're going to look at doesn't start with some complex theology, but with something way more down to earth.
Yeah, the key to unlocking this whole puzzle isn't buried deep in some library or ancient scroll. Instead, it was found just by observing a simple, everyday practice that Muslims do all over the world. It's a tiny detail, really, but it has some huge implications for the claim we're looking at.
So this practice is called seeking refuge. And what it means is, before a Muslim even starts to read the Quran or before they begin their prayers, the very first thing they do is ask God for protection from Satan. It's a fundamental, absolutely crucial first step.
And right away, this brings up the first major logical hurdle. Just think about it for a second. Why would a book that supposedly comes from an evil source tell its readers, first thing, to seek protection from that very same source? It's kind of like getting a letter from your worst enemy that starts with, "Hey, before you read this, make sure you lock all your doors so I can't get to you." The instruction completely contradicts the supposed goal.
Okay, so that was about the ritual you do before reading the book. But the plot thickens, the contradiction gets even deeper when we actually look inside the book itself. Does the actual content of the Quran line up with this idea that it comes from an evil source?
Well, what you find is this huge internal conflict. The book consistently, and I mean page after page, warns against all the behaviors you'd connect with evil. Arrogance, injustice, greed, lying. And then, at the same time, it champions the total opposites: humility, mercy, honesty, charity, patience. The book seems to be building a moral compass that is pointing in the exact opposite direction of evil. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the argument. It's the central logical question. If the whole point of the book was to promote evil, why would it be jam-packed with instructions on how to spot evil, how to resist it, and how to defeat it, both in yourself and in the world? The message inside the book seems to be at war with its supposed author.
But the argument doesn't stop there. It's not just a simple list of do's and don'ts. The analysis suggests the Quran's focus is actually much, much broader. It seems to be aiming to shape not just what you do, but your entire human experience, inside and out.
The scope here is just huge. It's not just about your actions. It's about your inner state, your heart, your intentions. It talks about living with a sense of purpose and being accountable for what you do. But what's really interesting is that an evil source would probably demand blind obedience, right? But this text does the opposite. It consistently pushes people to think, to reflect, to observe the world around them. Encouraging critical thought seems like a really strange strategy for a book that's trying to deceive you.
So when you bring it all together, the conclusion from this particular line of reasoning becomes pretty clear. When you look at the first thing you have to do before reading it, which is seek protection from evil, and then you look at the content, which is all about warning you against evil and encouraging you to think, well, the claim that the Quran is from the devil just doesn't seem to hold up to logical scrutiny.
And that's really where we'll leave it. The whole point of walking through this wasn't to push a belief on anyone, but just to explore a specific logical argument. And it ends with this open invitation to just be curious. Whether you agree with the conclusion or not, it leaves us with a really powerful final thought. What does it actually mean when a text's primary message seems to be empowering its reader to think for themselves?